Mr. Danielson will be filming us today. So thank you for being here, Bruce.
Good evening. My name is David Zokaites, and earlier today the mayor introduced the topic of human rights. That's something I'm very interested in. And a few weeks ago I saw a television drama that violated rights in such an appalling manner that I had to come to my favorite venue, that's right, my favorite venue, and talk to the city and the councilors about human rights and how important they are and how not everybody in our culture values human rights. I watched a crime show and I was amazed at the underlying message, and the underlying message is that human rights have no value and police do anything they want to. This is really bad for a democracy, but it's great if you want to fire up a dictatorship. That's the theme I saw. In one scene, a lawyer was rather eloquently and peaceably talking to police about his civil rights, and the official response, arrest this man. That's not what should happen in a reasonable society. You should be free to express your civil rights to police officers. But the guy was arrested, and this teaches anybody who's watching the show that they should not protest their rights. Bad thing to happen. In a different scene on the same show, there was a casual mention of solitary confinement as though it was a normal activity. We don't want to abuse prisoners with solitary confinement, but in this show, it's just a reasonable thing to do. In another scene, oh, this is a great one, police wanted to search a building, but they did not have any level of suspicion. They couldn't get a search warrant, so instead of doing what they should and collecting evidence, they condemned the building and sent in a SWAT team. Terrifying people, stealing their stuff, displaying maximum force, but no suspicion. Now the problem with doing all this in a TV show is maybe it's going to happen in real life, and we don't want that to happen. In a different scene, police officers were described as heroes. Well, maybe sometimes they are, but I mean, I look at a police officer and I see a man. I don't necessarily see a hero or an angel or a devil. They're people doing a job. That's pretty much all we have. And we don't want to teach excessive allegiance to civil authority, because that's unrealistic. A certain level is good, but certainly not to excess. Oh, and in a different scene, they needed to get some cooperation out of a prisoner who didn't want to cooperate, so they just banged him around a little bit, terrified him. That's assault, but it's official strategy, at least in this show. In a different scene, the police lied to a suspect. I tend to value honesty and integrity. If you teach people to lie in one context, before you know it, they'll be lying in a different context. And if you want to teach police officers that they are heroes, they could at least be honest. Different scene, lying to the public. Not good. We want to be able to trust our government, and if the government, through the police officers, lie to the public, what do we have? Not good whatsoever. Oh, and in scene H, they outfitted a prisoner with a shock belt. Basically a remote control taser. Kind of risky. If you've got your button on that finger, how long is it going to be before you spill your coffee and bump that finger and there goes your prisoner vibrating all over the floor? If you make assault too easy, it happens too often. Something we really should not try to do in this country. In another scene, police had to stop somebody quickly, so they put a few bullets in their chest. I remember in the old days, police used to stop with just one, and now it's multiple. You would think in 2016 we'd have non-lethal alternatives. Better wrap it up here. One of the problems with this whole business is it's teaching people that our rights are not important. And another problem with it is that police hear and our local government learn from what they watch on TV. I've seen cases where we do not have the right to trial and brought them to your attention. And my recommendation is to turn off your TV and do something athletic. And as usual, there is beauty in the world, and with that I have to bid you a good evening.
Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. Got multiple things in my pocket here. I see that on the agenda you have a first reading for the recording the Parks Board meetings. I think this is wonderful and way past due. I've been pressuring for this for several years. The Parks Board is a volunteer board that determines the spending of millions and millions and millions of dollars of our budget each year, and they get to do it in a meeting that's not recorded, only it's minutes. So I fully support this. And as for the argument that this is going to cost the city extra money, I find that very laughable, because they can have the meeting right here in Carnegie where all the cameras exist and they can record it. If they want to record it at different locations, I don't see a problem with that either. We have several, 3 to 4 press conferences a week in every corner of this city about moving cones off the street or the dog park, or we're building a restaurant and a hotel out the golf course. And I believe that the Parks Board meetings are way more important than any of that stuff. So I hope that you pass the first reading tonight and move it on to a second reading and make the board accountable for the money that they spend. I want to talk about something else that's been concerning me for quite a while. Something we call the Fourth Estate. Now, what's the Fourth Estate? The Fourth Estate is the media. They call them the Fourth Estate because they're not a part of government. They're not a part of the executive, the judicial, the legislative branch. They're a separate part. They're there to inform the public. Now, there's times when government doesn't agree with them very often. Most of the time when government doesn't agree with the media, they don't agree with them because government got caught. And so all of a sudden, the media is wrong. Well, there's also a way to solve that problem. The media contacts you as a government official. You have a choice. You can say, at this time, I have no comment. Or you call them back and you give them an answer. If you don't do that, a lot of times the news will print what they have. That's not because they're doing it wrong. It's because they have deadlines and actual jobs. They get paid for what they do. There's been a lot of criticism lately of the media. And I've seen this criticism rise because the media is actually getting it right and catching our government officials doing things wrong. If I was a government official, I would not respond to that. I would not cry about them doing a story or stomping our feet. I would actually try to call them back and get the story right. Respond to them. Or, even better yet, maybe do your job right. And then the media won't write nasty stories about you. So, I hope that we remember the duties of the Fourth Estate. They are there to be a watchdog. They are there not to rubber stamp everything you do and to make sure that the public is hoodwinked into something that's not the truth. Have a good night.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Rose Bailey. On November 16th at 4 o'clock, beautiful afternoon, I took my usual walk around the neighborhood. At 1517 South Frederick Drive, 1 block from my home, I was viciously attacked by an American bulldog. She was not leashed and lunged at me, sinking her teeth into my right thigh and knocking me down. She then attacked me, tearing my clothing and a second bite in my thigh. The neighbor, Kathy Buckles, was working in her yard, came running with her leaf blower to beat off the dog, putting herself at risk. The young man, the owner of the dog, was able to pull the dog off me and get her locked in the yard. My back was sprained, my thigh was bleeding. Mrs. Buckles called the police and the animal control. They did not come. I was taken to the ER. Animal control came at 7 p.m., made a report, and called me later to tell me the dog was current on her shots. Put those down. The doctor did not stitch the wound at that time, felt it needed to be drained. 5 days later, I was admitted to Sanford for surgery to open and flush the infection and started immediately on IV antibiotics. I spent 4 days in the hospital suffering from trauma, pain, and infection. Prior to this incident, I had no medical issues. I took no medication. I was a very healthy individual. I have suffered from trauma, severe allergic reaction to the medication, and pain injury to my back, and enormous medical bills. The dog is still at home. The owners complied and got liability insurance and agreed to keep her contained. I've not been able to contact the dog owners, although they were told to contact me. Because my time is limited here before you, I'll be brief. The dog is declared vicious, but still allowed to live next door to the little children. Do you have those pictures on it? Okay. To live 3 blocks from a children's daycare center. They take the children to Riverdale Park, right near where the dog is kept. I pray that no child needs to suffer the gain or the disfigurement or the death from the inaction of city government. The city ordinance need to have some teeth put into it. And don't hide behind the state statute. Include in the utility bills copies of the city ordinance and the consequences. Provide resources and assistance for victims, and not use Marcy's Law as an excuse. A special task force to review the number of injuries that are caused by animals. Budget funds to provide adequate staff for these agencies. Requirement of animal owners to carry insurance information and be financially responsible. Special training, a requirement of owners of special breed of dogs. Require a license to breed and sell pups. Neighborhood watch to monitor. Vicious animals should not be allowed near schools, child care facilities, and public parks. Sex offenders are restricted to certain neighborhoods. Traffic citations are consequences of negligence. More important, my testimony here tonight may prevent a child from suffering pain or disfigurement or even death. I'm asking you as representatives of the people for your help. While your sympathy may be a comfort, your action will speak louder than words. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Appreciate that. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Katherine Buckles. I'm the one that was in my front yard when Rose was attacked on November 16th. I'm not going to repeat what Rose has said. The dog in question I had issues with on August 31st. My brothers and I were going out to my car to go to my husband's funeral when an 8-year-old boy was chased by this same dog onto my property and onto my yard. While my brothers went towards the dog, I went towards the house to get my gun. This dog has a history. It needs to be put down. Rose, I don't know if she wants you to know, she did not tell you how old she is. She is 83 years old. We have a lot of elderly people in our neighborhood. We have tons of children. I live 2 houses down from where this dog is housed. We were told by animal control after it was declared vicious that we should monitor it. Rose and I should monitor that they're putting a muzzle on, that they're putting a lead on it when they bring it in and out of the house. I do not feel that is our responsibility. This dog needs to be terminated before it kills someone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Katherine. Appreciate that. Welcome.
I'm Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. First off, at the last city council meeting, just prior to the meeting, there was a potentially dangerous incident that happened, and I want to thank the city council security staff for helping me with that situation. It'll be handled in court, but I wanted to say thank you to them and the great job they did. I was looking at some things, and I've been really pushing, and all of you know that I video record the meetings. I have a couple cameras running back there, and I have this one that costs about $60. And I've been asking for the last couple of years about being able to just do this, set it down like that at a city meeting, and start recording. And that's all it takes. And we'd have meetings recorded for $60 or $100 or $200. At that point, it doesn't matter. Every one of the boards and commissions the city has should be recorded. And it makes you wonder, since the city can't seem to do something this simple, it must be broke. But somehow they find the money to pay the cost of a mannequin video and the very, very expensive equipment that was used to do that. So I would really like to see the Parks Board and all the other boards and commissions of the city recorded. I'm still going to keep going to them. If you don't want my view of how the meeting turned out, then you better start recording it yourself and put it up on YouTube. So I was going to ask Dave to put this up on the screen, because I was looking at the consent agenda and noticed a couple items. So I asked our city clerk's office for copies of the contracts yesterday. I was told to contact city purchasing or the finance department to get them, so I tried calling them. No one answered the phone in 10 minutes. The city operator was wonderful. She did a great job trying to help me. Nobody answered the telephone in Tracy Turbeck's office. Was Tracy and everybody gone from the office yesterday? I couldn't find them. With no luck, the mayor always says, call Julie Wilson in his office, so I did. She took the information, but I received nothing. And I'm here to say thanks for nothing. My interest was in the $24,999 drone contract of dubious need, since the city already has a drone they can play with and create multimedia videos with. My question was, what gives? I just wanted to see the contract to see what the story was on it. Then I looked a little further up, and I see my other interest was in the Journey Group contract for $99,375. Yesterday, and it was missing from the city's website, so I wanted to see it. Today, it's for the construction manager at risk for a building that's not really in the budget. And if you notice, it's already dated, and then it's crossed off. This administration can't seem to fill out dates on forms correctly, or did they really want to slide this past the city council without anybody noticing? We kind of sort of building another building without noticing. We know the mayor wants another party before he leaves office, and we also know who's going to have to pay for it, us. Wasn't it in the plan to hold off on this building until many other questions were asked? Is it time to get our clipboards out again? I got a whole stock of these. We got 6,400 signatures in 17 days this year. And this time, I'll make sure it's the right form, and we'll make sure that there's a lot of other changes that happen. So, will this administration ever start being open about their schemes, or do we have to start the 17-month countdown clock to a new government hoping for the best? Thank you.
Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Tim Stanga. I also look at recording the park board meetings. Not only will it help the citizens of Sioux Falls realize, you know, that probably half the budget deals with parks and recreation. And being able to let the city council watch what's going on in these meetings and to find out what is being done ahead of time versus finding out a month or 2 months later, I think the city council should know. But I also want to go a step further. I also want to be able to have a representative from each district that Pat can have a representative from his side, Greg can, Teresa can, I don't care, the rest of you guys can too. But I think that all parts of this city should be represented on this board and that everybody has a voice. Because I don't think the voice is being heard from this side or this side, but it's mainly from this side. And I think that there should be a representative for each district, and I will push to have that done.
Thanks, Tim. Folks, anybody else want to welcome?
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. As you know, I've been working vigorously for a week with prostitution, human trafficking, and pimping in alleyways, sex crimes happening in alleyways, and shooting of heroin. Pettigrew Heights and Cathedral. I have 6 calls for shoes on a power line, and some people didn't know what shoes on a power line meant. Went out there, and the gangs was taking over the neighborhood and refused to take the shoes off the power lines. Michelle's district is in. They've called Michelle. Michelle's never responded. I've been working in her district vigorously, and she can laugh all she wants, to get down this crime that is happening here in this district. Human trafficking of kids in your district. Had to go against the landlord because he wanted to put 5 and 6 feet gravel in the middle of a street. On 8th and Spring, I had to get code inspection to tell him he could not do that, to pick it up. Christine, we talked today. Thank you for talking to me today. Teresa Staley, Greg Knightsard, and Marshall. These are all the people that have taken their time to listen on these streets, Mayor. When you had someone break into your neighborhood, you had the police there, right? Duluth and Spring is like another little Chicago here. I just busted someone today from the Arch for doing sexual activity while he was shooting up heroin. So, if you don't believe me, you go on Duluth Avenue, you go on 9th and 10th of Spring, and you look to see what's all going on over there. I understand that the chief of police has been here for a year. We don't have enough policemen on the police department for us. But Mayor, it falls back on you. You have to get this crime under control. I am fighting pimps and prostitutes every day of the week, telling them, no, you're not putting shoestrings on a power line. The police department didn't even know what shoes on a power line means. So I'm gonna educate the public on this because it's happening on the west side of town also. When shoes on the power line come up, that means that drugs are being dealt from that area, or a gang has initiated territory in that area. Carolyn Avenue, pounds of cocaine. Pounds of it in these motels and hotels. I'm going to do a petition drive. I expect and hope that people say no living in hotels and motels within 30 days. It is drug infested. It's becoming the projects in these motels and hotels. The crime is here. It might not be in the southeast district of town, and it might not be in the other rich sides of town, but it's here. Mayor, I'm asking you, I said this last year. What did I say? There was going to be a murder and it happened. What did I say last year? If you read back on the recordings, we're going to have shoes on the power line. What's going on? Shoes on the power line. If we do not get this under control in Michelle's district, we're going to have prison gangs shooting and fighting and shooting each other right here on Duluth and Spring Street before the new year ends. I can see it happening here. Now, this is reality. This is what we need to get a grip on, is the crime. I don't care about smoking. I don't care about the park's beautiful and the flowers painted so beautiful on the boulevard, or how many chairs are we going to put up, or toilets in an event center. This is reality here. We're talking about kids. 60% of the refugee kids right now are in foster care because of human trafficking and drugs of their parents as of right now. Every week I will come here and I will pinpoint all these problems until something gets done about it. I have heard from the police department that the chief of police is very smart and educated. But in 2018, when we get a new mayor, we're going to see how much of that changes. Thank you so much.
Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council tonight? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Kadir Aware. I just want to first to say to City Council and the people sitting in this room, I am not a smoker. I don't smoke, and nobody in my family smoke.
Kadir, is this involving the smoking ordinance later on?
Yes.
Okay, if you could just wait until that time, we'd appreciate
How long
it.
the stick?
Thank you. I'm sorry?
How long the stick?
How long until that happens?
Take that.
Well, it depends on how much more public input we have, sir.
Okay.
And I don't control that. I wish I did.
No, that's okay.
I've asked. But folks, as you can see, I don't control it. Would anybody else want to engage the council really on any topic that you think is important? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Y'all come back now. Here.
Security, escort this gentleman out, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.